Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode. I'm excited to be here today with my guest, Jen Kirkpatrick, and she's one of my clients, and it's been amazing to work with her both in person and online. And a little bit about her, and I'll have her give her background as well, but just a little bit of her credentials. She has her master's degree in clinical mental health counseling. She's a licensed addiction counselor, and she also has clinical experience working in addiction and recovery outpatient treatment, both in individual and group settings. And she also has experience working with individuals that are experiencing mental health struggles such as anxiety, depression, trauma work, and rebuilding life skills. Not only that, but she's also an Ayurvedic yoga specialist and a Reiki practitioner. So, very knowledgeable woman. I'm so excited that she is here to chat with me today and chatting more just about self-esteem, building a better self-esteem to build a fulfilling relationship with yourself. We'll talk a little bit about unhealthy relationship with food, exercise, what that may look like. So excited to dive in, and thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. And before we dive in, I just want to give a disclaimer that this episode is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, treatment, anything like that. So if you're really struggling with an eating disorder or mental health concern, please seek help from a licensed healthcare provider or therapist. Again, while Jen is a licensed counselor and yoga instructor, this conversation is not intended to replace individual one-on-one therapy or medical care. So, just want to make sure I have that and let
Yeah, definitely. Very, very important. Very, very
yes.
important.
So, Jen, do you mind just sharing a brief overview about
Yeah.
how you got into what you do and yeah, tell us a little bit about your story.
Yeah, absolutely. So, everything you said is true. So I am finished. I've been a yoga professional, a yoga instructor for, gosh, since 2008, maybe something like that. So quite a long time. So a lot of experience working in sort of that fitness wellness arena. I've been doing that for a long time, come across many, many clients and many, many good experiences in that world. During COVID, I just sort of had this moment of it's time to make some changes. My kids are getting older and, maybe time to make some positive changes too for myself. So I ended up going back to school, getting my master's in counseling, like you said. And I at this time I'm licensed as a licensed addiction counselor as well as an LPCC, so also working in general mental health counseling as well. And yeah, trying to uh just trying to be of service to others, I guess is the best way to put it. Just want to be helpful in any way that I can. Um yeah, I've also have a background of being active in sports and athletics myself, my kids, it's just, my extended family and per this topic today, this is something that is very dear to me. And as I look to, I just went into private practice, like literally now, it's happening now. So this
Yay!
is,
So
kind of some of
exciting.
the stuff that interests me and would like to work with, sort of bringing those two worlds together of what it is to exist in physical wellness world, but also like the importance and layering of mental health and emotional health in those spaces too. So, and yes to the disclaimer, none of this is a substitute for care. And we can talk about that later for sure too.
Awesome. Yeah, so exciting that you're starting your private practice now. Super, super cool. And
Yeah.
yeah, Jen is super active. What was the race you did again? Or not the race, the
Oh
event in Moab?
God.
I like couldn't remember what it was called.
Yeah, oh my goodness, I did, and when I say run is a loose term. I made it across the finish line and, I did a trail half marathon in Moab back in November, and that's when I met Sarah. I was basically just like, "I'm in my 40s. Please help me not to get hurt and to train responsibly." So
Yes.
that's what we did.
And you crushed it. Yeah, so impressive. Like, yeah, you guys have to
Thanks.
look this up because she was showing me pictures. You're literally like climbing. Like
It's
up
cool,
the
yeah.
rocks, and I just thought it was so cool and so versatile, like not just running but like yeah, hiking
It's
up, climbing.
beautiful, yeah. There's a lot of things that happen out in the desert, I think, like you're out there and I'm somebody, my hobbies definitely include hiking and nature-based activities. That's always been a source of peace for me personally. And So yeah, it was definitely a really cool experience. It was the second time I'd done the race. The first time I did it, I did not know what I was getting myself into at all. And that's why I came to you for the second time. 'Cause I just want to make sure I didn't
Hmm.
get hurt in a good way. But yeah, no, it's beautiful. It's all trails, and there are some parts that involve climbing and shimmying and things like that. Nothing too extreme or whatever, but it's
Yeah,
fun. It's fun.
so
And
fun.
yeah, yeah, it was really fun. So
So
thank you
cool.
for your help
Yeah.
there.
So impressive though. Super cool.
Thanks.
And then let's kind of dive right into it. So we're going to be
Yeah.
talking about a little bit about, incorporating low self-esteem with maybe a little bit of distorted relationships with food and
Mhm.
exercise. So before we start, like what could be an unhealthy relationship with food or exercise? Like what does that actually look like? Some red flags or tangible signs that
Yeah.
someone might be experiencing that.
Hey, so, it could come up in a lot of different ways, right? And this is I'm not just drawing from mental health um type stuff. I'm drawing from experience in these conversations also as a fitness professional, things
Mm-hmm.
I've witnessed as a, a mom to sports kids, as a someone who takes part in these things myself. So this is a pretty broad statement.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say, it can look a million different ways in a million different people. Everybody's different. Everybody enters into these spaces differently. From one person, it could be like a compulsion. It can be like a compulsive behavior. Another person, these things can come up relative to shame. Another person, it could be, anxiety, perfectionism, things like that. Red flags to look for. I would say, a lot of the more obvious signs, you know, change in body composition. Um, is there a sense that this person can't miss? And if they do, then where does that leave them? Are they, things like that, like, and then also, as an individual, like your relationship, are you lying to yourself a little bit? Are you being honest with yourself? Are you forcing yourself to go to places that lean more towards injury than help? Um, and also just sort of like the role that it's taking in your life. How much power are you and thought and time are you giving this thing? Is it a give, or is that more? So yeah, I
Mm.
guess, does that answer the question?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, like you said, there's probably a lot of different layers of how it could show up
Mhm.
in different people. Like for me, the first thing I think, again, from personal experience working with clients is like, could be like food obsession or,
Mhm.
like some binge behavior, or it could be a fear, like for my, past experience, like fear of missing workouts or feeling
Mhm.
guilty for taking rest days. I still struggle with this, like I will say.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
hard. And so would those also be little signs as well, or is it more when it's
Yeah.
causing harm? Yeah,
All of it.
all
Again,
of it.
different things for different people. I mean, like, I think that I think one thing that I'd like to name, and again, I'm drawing from across the board experience,
Mm-hmm.
like as a human being, right? We all have, like you said, like in my own experience, I struggle with
Yeah.
this. Like, I think we all have to sort of come to a place where we learn how, and this is where therapy is so helpful, to be honest with ourselves and what that means. And there's no binaries here, yes or no, black or white, good or bad. Like, where are we on our scale of all these things? And like, yeah, like I think all of the things you just named could definitely be red flags. In fitness world, this would be, I've noticed, you notice body changes, you notice the change of people's, and again, this is from my yoga instructor hat, like people's affect in practice. Are they, is this something that feels like it's, you know what I mean? Like you can sense all of these different
Mm-hmm.
things. And then
Yeah.
obviously, like, you know, um, being too tight with the food trackers, all of it. I mean, it's all game.
Okay, cool. And then, yeah, which is very challenging to be experiencing, not knowing if it's like almost, yeah, you become obsessive or, and not realizing how it could be leading to, yeah, more mental health struggles that
Mhm.
like you maybe aren't aware of. And that's why, yeah, therapy can come into
Yes.
play. So, that being said, like, when, what are, because there's right discipline, right? You're really disciplined.
Mhm.
You could have a healthy commitment, and then you could have like more of a disordered um, behavior around it.
Mhm.
How can we kind of differentiate between those three? Because I think they come in,
Yeah, that's an
all
awesome
associated.
question. I've been thinking
Yeah.
about this because, like, when we, and I think that that's where it's also important, like holistically, like when we work in the world like of addiction, right? Addiction's a huge word. It's a huge word, and it's a powerful word, and it's a powerful word. Um, and it's never just one thing,
Mm-hmm.
there's the bio, the psycho, the social, the spiritual, there's contributing factors, there's genetic factor. I mean, there's so many things that go into it. Um, and that's a big word. And I think that when we're talking about our relationship with food or exercise or whatever the thing is in our life, one key thing, and I was trying to be deliberate with this, one key thing that jumps out to me right away is sort of the idea of harm. Is this behavior causing harm in some way? Are you training through injury? Are you ignoring signals from your body, like signals of hunger or thirst from your body?
Mm,
Are you saying like, well, an example that I've heard from other people that kind of went off in my head was, well, I'll burn more calories if I don't eat before doing this thing. So, stuff like that. Are you bartering with yourself that way? Um, let's see what else. Not knowing, not sleeping, not taking care of yourself, like all of those types of things. Are you able to take a day off or take a softer workout that day? Do you look at rest as a punishment? Like, are there noticeable signs of stress in your mind or your body? Is it changing your affect in some way? Like harm doesn't just have to be physical. It can be,
mm,
is this causing you anxiety? Is it bringing up other stuff that you thought you were done with, but all of a sudden it's here again? I mean, there's so many things. And again, that's why like a million ways to a million different people. It's different for everybody. Um, and also like this idea of perfectionism and pressure. Like, are you putting too much
mm-hmm.
pressure? Is someone else putting too much pressure on you? Like, do you see like it can all kind of,
Yes.
so like make it so, and that's where, I think as we're looking at this, like this idea of connection. Are you connected? Is this connection a helpful one or a harmful one? And if it's
Mm-hmm.
helpful, I think that's when we're aligning, that healthy commitment discipline. If it's unhelpful and there's, you're starting to see signs of harm, whether it's mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, whatever zone, like that's when it's like, okay, how can I bring it back to my balance? And if, as a yoga teacher, to put that hat back on, right? Like,
Yeah.
we a lot of times if you're teaching a physical pose, you talk about like finding your edge. Like where's your edge in the pose, right? And if you're at your edge, like you're encountering sensation, you're encountering challenge. And, you can talk through it. You can step
Mm,
back and notice it. It's not a fight or flight. It's like, oh, wow. Okay, here's this thing. You're not in pain. Like pain is different than sensation, than stretching.
yes.
Um, so to me, like I think about like a healthy situation, you're probably in an edge where you're feeling growth happens at edges. Like you're feeling growth.
Yes.
It's happening at edges. And uh it's not pain. You can still make choices. It's not controlling you. It's not making you feel bad about yourself, right? Like all these things. And if you sort of that maybe, so I guess maybe it's my loose attempt at trying to draw a metaphor between like, are you at your edge or
Yep.
are you beyond it? And whatever way that shows up. Yeah, and
That's
that's when.
yeah. That's super helpful because again, I think when you talk about, yeah, is it causing harm, but not even just physical harm, like the mental, like you're saying, if it's
Mhm,
causing more stress, like internally, are you feeling more anxiety or guilt or like shame?
mhm,
Like, do those feelings start to arise? Like, that could be an indication of a
mhm,
sign of, yeah, imbalance there.
mhm. Yeah,
And
there's a lot of shame in the world of
yeah,
diet and exercise, right? Like even things like, okay, it's not working. Now what? Like,
mm,
right? Like it's not working. Now what? And there's like so there is like it can be a lot different
okay, yeah,
things.
and very challenging. Like, I think
Yeah.
at some point, I th feel like like I'd say most people in this space of fitness wellness
Hmm.
have experienced some form of this in one way or another. I feel like
Hmm.
if unless maybe they're really well balanced and have worked through all those things, but
Sure.
if you have, you know, specific goals, there's always going to be a roadblock at some point, and
Hmm.
that can lead to again behaviors or just feeling guilt around it or anxiety that you're not doing enough or whatever it may be.
Hmm. We
What are
want this to
other, go ahead.
help. Yeah, we want like we want these spaces to be places of taking back some of your power and healing and all of that. And so, yeah, I mean, it requires us to be, in my opinion, in my opinion, as a human, like not even as like a
Yeah.
counselor, like, you know, if something is not resonating with you in a way that is helpful and that is bringing you closer to your values, to your goals, then that's a good check-in point to see where you can course correct a little bit. And that may involve getting extra help or whatever it is.
I love that you brought that up. When I was reading a little bit about your approach to your therapy, when you were
Yeah.
saying how and you can elaborate a little bit more, but you were saying how you want to create a compassionate home within ourselves where
Mhm.
we can heal and live a life aligned with our highest values. And I was like, dang, that is so, that's good. I was like, that's really good. Like, yeah, because I've never really thought about it in that way, like showing compassion to, is it aligning with the values that you want for yourself?
Mhm.
And I just thought that was beautiful. And yeah,
Thanks.
yeah.
I think, well, and a lot of the stuff we're talking about here is kind of an inside thing, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
the way we present to the world and know too that like, and again, this is, you know, drawing from a couple different buckets of experience and knowledge, but like, if we're really our mind likes to be right. So it's sometimes hard to break these cycles of like unhelpful
Yes,
behavior, right? And unhelpful stuff. And so yeah,
totally.
when we can do the internal work and also like, it's worth bringing in that a lot of behavioral stuff, particularly as it relates to eating and exercise and those internal things, there's a lot of work and evidence. I just finishing up a training right now with eating disorders, and it's super interesting. They bring in a lot of nervous system work. Like a lot of
Mm,
this work really can be to the point, and often is, I think, from what
yeah.
I'm learning and noticing in the world. Like there's good rewiring. It's not just talking about your stuff. It's like teaching your body again from the inside,
Yes.
how to be in touch with itself compassionately. And that's a big ask. It's hard.
It's super hard. But yeah, I
Yeah.
love that you brought that up too, because it is a lot of like nervous system re rewiring a lot of
Mhm,
times, because yeah, your brain is gonna be working on default. It's
mhm,
yeah, going back and touch internally, like how are you feeling in your
mhm,
body? Do you feel safe? And that type of thing.
mhm.
What could be some early signs that like low self-esteem is affecting, like how can we tie that in? Like low self-esteem is affecting their relationship with the food and exercise.
So, you know, Brene Brown has done so much
Mm,
work around shame and shame research. And, um, you know, I think a lot of times self-esteem, shame, guilt are all kind of cousins. And, self-esteem is really tied to oftentimes to like self-worth and self-love and things like that. And again, when we do that inside work, we're able to hold two things in our hands. We're able to hold on to our self-love, our self-worth, know this about ourselves as that, working with our core beliefs to remember that so that we can go to those edges, so that we can push ourselves and come
mm,
back. Does that make sense? Like, and come
yep.
back. So, when low self-esteem is involved, it's like we're kind of in some ways talking about or shame or guilt. It's like this, am I worthy of this thing? Do I deserve this thing? And again, that's inside work, and that's really hard. And it's often, and when we're talking about in the context of, exercise and food and all this other, body, all this stuff, like, some of it does come back to that. And again, some early signs or some things that I would say just, in general, again, drawing from all
Yeah.
these different buckets, you know, um, stuff like, okay, absence of the exercise or training. Does that kick in that anxiety or some type of physical or mental health symptom? Are you irritable? Are you anxious? Does it get you on a different level other than like, does it have the same power? Oh, I have to mix an exercise, I mix a workout today. Like, would you feel the same way if you had to miss work? I mean, maybe that's a
Yeah.
bad example, but
Yeah,
like,
but
is it like, how much power does
triggering.
this have
Yeah.
over you? Is it really, is it tied to your self-worth? Um, let's see, like compulsive patterning around. if it becomes so deeply ingrained in who you are and so tied to your self-worth that you've got this compulsive patterning around food and exercise, um, the constant checking of the trackers, I mean, I think they're helpful, don't get me wrong. You check my Fitbit, I
Yeah.
use these things, but like, you know, um bartering with yourself too. Like, okay, well, I'll do this, but not this. Or if I just do this, I'll
Mm.
make up for that. Like, to a degree can be helpful, but like, is it in the helpful zone? Um, and then again, physical changes, weight loss, hair or skin changes, denying that you're hungry, other signs of self-harm. Um, and because, yeah, noticing your self-talk, right? As your self-talk self-deprecating, like, and how, like, the way we speak to ourselves is huge. It's huge. And also, like, another thing and that comes up a lot, I think, in addiction type work in general, is the idea of needing to do more and more to prove your self-worth, like,
Hmm.
needing to do more and more, increasing your intensity, even if you're injured, right? Um, and there's some of that bartering, like, well, I had to do XYZ for work this morning, so I'm gonna go harder on myself tonight. Like, is that tied to
Yes.
your self-worth? Like, can you be okay that you just did an average day? Um, Inability to celebrate your goals, right? Like, the thing you think you wanted is no longer good enough. Like, you gotta push. And again, healthy relationship, like, yes, there's discipline, yes, there's pushing
Yes.
yourself, but, these are just things, just that perfectionism piece, a lot of this, like, again, like, where are you I would encourage, like, where are you giving your power to? And, like, noticing starting to be honest with yourself, and just, like, this general sense of tying your worth to your accomplishments rather than to yourself. How do you feel versus the number on the scale or the number of plates you throw on the machine for whatever you're lifting,
Hmm.
or, like, and again, like, this is all muddy
Yeah.
stuff, right? It's muddy. That's why we go to therapy, I think, in general, or we do things to help ourselves. Like, it's muddy. And that's why, again, none of this is a substitute for true mental health engagement, because it's muddy and it's hard. The training that I'm finishing out right now, the woman who's running it, she talks about, and I'll have her name here because I'm nervous, so I'm forgetting it because I'm never done a podcast before. But she talks about this idea of, like, in all fairness, this is hard. Like, being fair with ourselves,
Yes.
this is hard. And I'll find her name in a moment again.
Okay.
This is my own nerves speaking
No, you're
because
good. And I mean, it
oh,
is hard.
Dr. Biasetti. Her name is Ann Safi Biasetti, and she's a yoga
Okay.
therapist and a therapist who specializes in eating disorders. And she's running this
Ooh,
training this is an online one. But I thought that was like an important point too. Like, in all fairness, this is hard. So those were her words, and that resonated with me. Like, yeah, it's muddy, it's hard,
it's
it's
super
hard.
hard. Being honest with
Mhm,
yourself too, like it's so easy to be in that cycle if you're always used to doing
mhm,
those same behaviors and habits and thinking the same way, like
mhm,
not realizing how much it could be adding more stress to the body, bringing up a
mhm,
lot more anxiety, and thinking, that's normal and that's just part, but like later it could cause, more, again, mental health issues or just the way you handle other situations.
mhm,
And I think there's a lot to be said about being okay with, yeah, like you said, having an average day, having an average workout, like being okay with just being, and like
mhm.
being,
Right.
like present, and like it's not always about doing more and more, which is super hard. Because again,
I mean,
worth is
yeah.
tied to like, even as a woman, I think women can a lot of resonate. Like you're tied to like your productivity, your success, whether
Mhm.
that's with, your family or your work, career.
Well, that's
So,
like, I think there's that values piece comes back in too, right?
mm,
Like, and finding your why. I think that's such important work, even as like a journaling exercise. I remember years ago in I forget, it was a yoga teacher training. I think it was my friend Michelle Marshallden, who you know as well. I remember she had us do this like really simple exercise about finding your why, where we like journaled and journaled and journaled, and we kept having to cross off words. If I remembered it more accurately, I would say it here. But at the end of it, it was like, what's your why behind doing it? And I think that, like, whether you call it finding your why, whether you call it like, like a values inventory, like, what
mm-hmm.
isn't why am I- what is what why?
Yes.
And sometimes like that idea of leaning into a concept, like if I value self-respect, if that's one of my values, then it gives you sort of this touchstone to ask yourself in those moments, like, am I respecting myself when I'm doing this? If
Mm,
I know as a yoga teacher, I remember like my why was to be of service. That was the why I came up with that day. And I remember in moments where I wasn't sure, that's been a touchstone for me of years. Well, am I
um,
being of service? Okay. And if the answer is yes, then good. If the answer is I don't know, then it's like, all right, cool. How can I course correct and make sure,
yes,
and I
that's
think
super
that that's
helpful.
some of that too. Yeah.
No, that's super helpful to like, because yeah, right, working with clients, I always ask, what's your why? What's the deeper reason
Mhm,
for why you're wanting to see that change on the scale, or why,
mhm,
you know, you do want to see a change in your body, whether it's putting on more muscle or just eating better. Like, there's a
mhm,
way deeper reason. And again, I think, like you're saying, it ties to like your value of, is it being a better mom? Is it, showing up, being able to run with your kids, or whatever it is? So I love that tie of like values. If it's family, if
yeah.
it's just of service, self-respect,
Well, to take it
self-love.
out of your physical body too,
Yes.
right? Like my why might just be to be healthier.
Mm-hmm.
My emotional why, that's different,
That's
right?
different. Yeah, totally.
So my spiritual why, that's different. Like, and even if like that linear breakdown of taking that, it's
Mm-hmm.
different. My ethical why, like, I don't know. I just think that, yeah.
Totally. Is there any other things you want to say about the low self-esteem connection with relationships with food and exercise?
I think um oh, it's such a big topic. I think um I think shame is a powerful thing and self-esteem, low self-esteem, guilt, again, they're all kind of cousins. Um it tells us that it brings up feelings like unworthy and unlovable, and disordered relationships with food and exercise can have a great deal with our nervous system. It can have a great deal with our core beliefs, how our brains adapted or been rewired over the course of our lifetime. And that could even be like generationally. And it's also important to note culturally, different cultural entry points is super important to remember and be sensitive towards too. Um, Putting yourself in places with people who align to your values can make your self-esteem more accessible too, all that. Being in a positive, again, self-perception by way of neurological processes, right? Our negative thought loops, our inability to feel accurately in our body, it can have a great deal to do with our relationship with food and exercise. And there's just always layers as we work on our mental and physical health, learning how to better regulate our nervous system through like skills. And again, that's where therapy can be really helpful through skill work, self-awareness, appropriate behavioral therapies. If that's something, if it is to a point of like, all right, we need to do this, appropriate behavioral therapies can incredibly be really helpful. Um, it's really, in my opinion, again, drawing from all my buckets, and there is many
Yes,
buckets,
you have many buckets.
like learning and relearning connection with self and others, like
Mm,
relearning our connection, or in some cases, learning it for the first time. So I think that
yeah.
in addiction, when we're in working with addictions and again, that's a big word, and I'm not saying
Yep.
that's what we're working with here, but in
Yep.
my experience there, I remember a lot of times working with clients, it's like the opposite of addiction is connection. There's that famous podcast with
Mm,
Johan Hari who talks about that. Um, and I think in some ways that could also be applicable here too, like relearning your connection with yourself, your physical self, your emotional self, your thinking self, your spiritual self, your relational self.
mm-hmm.
I think there's probably some meat on the bone there.
Oh, for sure. And also I feel like you said connection also with others as well, like
Mhm.
feeling safe in a community, feeling
Mhm.
yeah, like you're being inspired with the same people that have the similar values. I think that's also really crucial too
Mhm.
when working on those better eating habits or exercise routine.
Mhm.
What other, so how do we start just shifting this mindset?
Mm. How do we start shifting this mindset? Well, I think it starts with being honest with yourself. Where are you at? Like, and honestly, and here's where it feels important to bring back the disclaimer again. If you need help, like better safe than sorry. Like these podcasts, social media, like it's great to generate
Mm-hmm.
ideas, but like if you're in a place where you're hearing some of these things, you're like, I think this is me or I need help, there are places you can get it, you know? And so being honest with yourself, if you need help, that in and of itself, that recognition is huge. Um, you know, if you're in a real severe spot and you're in crisis, like 988 is always available. But you know, you can Google like eating disorder awareness hotlines. I have one right here, and I'll say it again at the end. And this was just me doing a simple Google. I'm not
Yeah.
affiliated with
Yeah.
any of this. This was just me
Love it.
looking like local eating disorder awareness, you
Yep.
know. And if you're in the Denver area, www.eatingdisorderfoundation.org
Mhm.
came up for me pretty quick. That seemed to be a good one. And they had a hotline for help, 866-662-1235. Yeah, I'm not affiliated. That was just a simple Google.
Yeah.
So even if you don't know, you have resources that you can check out right away. Like
Totally.
if you're in crisis, get help. Colorado Crisis Services also. Like if you're in crisis and you're like, get help.
Yeah.
Um, I think that shifting away from the perception that the external appearance is what counts really does require a lot of internal work. Um, I noticed, like, you know, in my experience as a parent, as a yoga teacher, and now as a counselor, um, you know, a lot of women are eager to take care of the people around them. Um, but they go flat when it comes to taking care of themselves. Brene Brown again has this quote, talk to yourself the way you would talk to someone you love. And like try it and see
Yeah.
how hard that is for you. Maybe it's not, maybe it is. Um, but I think that that quote right there can be a good, if you're struggling with honesty, like with yourself, that can be a good starting point and see how that feels. And from that point forward, you know, like I think therapy can be incredibly helpful here if that's in the cards for you. I think again, it's like I've used the metaphor with clients a lot. Like it's like a rubber band ball, you know, they're all
Yes.
like a
Love
lot of
that one.
times we start therapy or we notice something in our world. Like maybe the noticing point is the exercise. Maybe the noticing point is the self-esteem, whatever it is. And it's like, there's one rubber band. We've taken it, we've noticed it. We might be sticking at it or take it out. But then what? Right. And like piece
Uh,
by piece, once you start working in therapy, like if that's the path for you, and it may not be, but again, in this like getting, I think it's helpful. You know, starting with self-love and compassion is an optimal place to begin, but it's super difficult. It can be super like, and I also think it's a red flag when you say to yourself, well, I do that. Do you? Or are you avoiding doing that? Right? Like that could be
yeah.
an interest, right? Like, um, for a lot of women, the same, yeah, I think that that would be interesting. And also like, I think that it's an inside job. How about that?
Mm-hmm. It is an inside job for sure. Because again, I think we all hear this or know this, like give yourself self-love,
Mhm.
self-compassion, but to actually truly implement that in your life,
Yeah.
in my experience, it takes time. It takes a long time. Like for me, it
Yeah.
took a long time. That's why I resonate when you said peeling back the layers. It's a lot of
Mhm.
layers to unpeel, and but on the other side, it's a beautiful thing to like think,
Totally.
to going back to your point of like it's not good or bad. Like looking at some things as more like a neutral thing, that has been
Mhm.
helpful for me. Um,
Mhm.
like it is what it is, or it's yeah, like if I miss a workout or something doesn't, plan exactly as I wanted it to,
Mhm.
like it is what it is. That's okay. Like,
Yeah,
tomorrow's a new day. So
absolutely.
that's worked well for
Sitting
me
on
too.
that edge, right? Where it's like I'm feeling something, but I'm still in a space where I can be curious about it.
Mm-hmm.
Some Ted Lasso, some Walt Whitman, be curious but not judgmental. And also to quote Dr. Biasetti, like I was saying from that training that I took, or you
Yeah.
know, in all fairness, this is hard. Like that statement to me when she said that, I was like, yes.
Yes.
And not like it's not good vibes only. It's not.
Yeah.
It's
It's
not.
not.
It's not.
With
And
anything in life. Yeah.
no, and I think too, like as women, and again, like, you know, it is another thing to consider too, like giving ourselves grace, because in a lot of upbringings and cultural, generational, like, and again, you know, like sometimes women really have been conditioned to think of self-compassion as a luxury or an
Mm-hmm.
indulgence, right? Because we are, I don't know, it's just that's a whole other interesting conversation to have.
Yeah.
But, like, self-compassion doesn't have to be bubble baths and chocolate. Self-compassion can just be like, "Am I in my body?" Like, taking 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute to regulate in some way.
I love that. Is there any like specific how do I say this? Like example that you have for shifting that mindset that in your own personal experience or with a client as far as like shifting that nervous system and self-compassion.
Ooh. And I apologize. I'm at home and my dogs, I think, are
It's
barking in
okay.
the
You're
background.
good.
So uh I would say, um I think sometimes it's hard. Self-awareness and thinking, perceiving ourselves accurately. I would say in my experience, in all my buckets, it's hard to see yourself accurately in the
Mm,
world. Um, Particularly if you have, perhaps some trauma, perhaps some stuff in there, whether you're aware of or conscious of or not, that's affect you. I've worked with women who had a great deal of trauma in their backgrounds. And it was interesting, how many of them also had issues in this arena too. Um, and again, you know what? That's across the board. That's in all the buckets. That's in all the buckets. And I think part of what's been helpful for me is to honor that it is hard and to, instead of bypassing people's experiences, to sit with them. And nobody wants to be told good vibes only. Nobody does. I don't care what the t-shirts say. It can be helpful and it can be like something to aspire towards more good vibes, but like, again, growth happens at the edges. And if we don't allow ourselves to feel, then we're keeping those things inside of our container, if that makes sense. So to shift away from, I think first is just honoring the thing that is that, like, yeah, this is hard. Yep,
mm,
I'm going to do some work on this. And not, the bypassing and also like not invalidating yourself. Like, not, well, it could be worse. Well, I could have this. At least it's not that. Like, yes, and right? Like, sure, could be worse. I guess anything could be. That's a way to
yeah.
look at life. And it also is like, yeah, it could be worse. And it's still yours. It's still real. It's still
Yes.
valid. So
Yep.
I think that a lot of, I think, and again, in all my buckets, mom, teacher, yoga teacher, beginning
Mm-hmm.
counselor now, like validation. It's
Yeah.
yours. It's real. And
And
and that's not to say perspective doesn't count. Like, yes, it could be worse. Like that perspective is different than,
mm-hmm.
and I think that that's a good place to start.
That's really helpful. Like validating your experience, like, yeah, it matters. Like it matters and
It
you deserve,
matters.
yeah, like it's not just like, oh, whatever, like brush it off the shoulder, like yeah,
Yeah.
like it could be worse. And so, yeah, that's super helpful to think of, no, like you're experiencing this and validating like you're going through something and to work on that. And it's okay to do that. What
Yeah.
other, what is like an emotional hurdle? Once that start noticing these patterns, you become aware of it. What is the next like hurdle for her to overcome?
I mean, so like noticing, okay, this is something interesting. I have you read I read the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. I
Yes.
think a lot of
Yep.
people read it. One part of that book that really stuck out to me, and I had an aha moment in my own world, was
Yeah.
like he talks about the difference between basically, I forget the words he uses, but like in between like planning and like planning to do something and doing it.
Doing
Forget
it.
if he calls it
Yeah.
like movement and action, something to
Yeah.
that effect. And I think that, all right, so we recognize like this is a thing that's hard. This is a thing I'm working on. I think it can be when we're stuck in a loop, it can be easy to stay stuck in a loop. And sometimes the thing we know is less scary than the thing we don't. So sometimes, and I'm not, again, I don't know, this is speaking in huge generalities, but like sometimes we stay stuck on our loops because it's the thing we know. And that,
Yes.
so like, in this context of having less than healthy relationship with food or exercise or self-esteem, like there's, the thing we know has become comfortable, it's become habit, it's become ingrained in our behavior. It's in, and our brain is sort of wired to keep us safe.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's, and at the same time, like, so it's breaking out of that, I guess is my wordy way of saying
Yes.
it. Breaking out of like, can we take a step towards the thing we don't know? And that step happens with action. And so like we can color code our planners all we want. We can put it on the calendar. We can write lists, going to call therapist, going to whatever it is, going to, but like I think it comes down to like recognizing, yeah, this, I may not be in a healthy spot right now. Then like putting that plan into, even if that small action is just making a phone call or having a hard conversation, like with yourself or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But like, when do you translate, I'm going to do this to I am doing this? I
Yeah.
think that would be a really cool hurdle to get over and to really put the ball in motion and not just think about it, write it down, talk about
Yeah.
it.
Right. Yeah. Actually take action on it. And
Mhm.
what about mindset shifts or like even just steps that we can take to start rebuilding trust within ourselves and build better, self-esteem?
Well, what's the key if we're going to trust anybody in the world? It's because they're honest with them, right? Like, you don't trust people who aren't honest with you, I don't think. So to me, or you do, and then that leads to
Yeah,
other,
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah,
So like,
probably. Yeah.
right. So I think that that being honest with yourself, a number one, is how we start. And even if it's just a minute, 2 minutes, but being still with yourself and like checking in with yourself, like how am I really? And again, like that's hard. Like addiction, and again, that's a big word and not necessarily what we're talking about here, but in that world, I remember having lots of conversations professionally about how like, like when we're truly wrapped up in something, and in this case we're talking about behaviors, like when we're truly wrapped up into it, right? Like do what we can to keep it going. So,
Yes.
like, and I think that that's part of it too, is like, am I being honest with myself, right? Am I causing harm? No. Well, okay, your ankle hurts and you haven't
Yeah.
eaten in 2 days, and well, that's fine, that's just me doing this. Is it like being honest with yourself,
Yes.
like not backfilling and changing your story? And yeah, I think that's a big part of it, is like, what does that mean? And when we're honest with ourselves, like just taking clear and kind actions that are aligned with our values and where we want to go. If your emotional value that you come up with is, I want to be happier, is this making me happy? Is that
Mm-hmm.
if that emotional value is like, yeah, whatever, you know what I mean? Like checking in, if your emotional value is, I want to find peace, are my actions and behaviors bring me closer to peace or farther from it? And like those kind of things, I think. And with honesty comes hopefully some well-informed action, compassionate action
Mm-hmm.
to
And
take
I
care
think,
of yourself.
yeah, and I think we're all smart, like truly, right? I think we truly know. Like deep down, you're smart enough to know,
Mhm.
like you're we know what we're doing. Like we know if we haven't
Mhm.
eaten 2 days, we know if that's helpful or not. Like, but it's hard to
Mhm.
like actually take the time to reflect on it and sit with yourself of, yeah,
Mhm.
is this aligning with the values? Is this aligning with, where I want to be a year, 5 years from now? Like, is this sustainable? Like, it's hard work, but yeah, like you're saying, it's being honest to give yourself that trust rather than kind of like not pushing it down, pushing down those
Yeah.
thoughts that may come up that are giving you signs that something is off.
And that's information too, because truly, when we're really caught up in our, whether it's behavior or what,
Mm-hmm.
like we may not know anymore. Right? And there's that edge of like seeking higher intensity to feel something. Like we may not
Mm.
know anymore. We may be that far disconnected from our body, from our mind, from our self-esteem, that like we may not know anymore. And that's where that so it is, I agree with, like, but intuitively, I agree, like intuitively on some level. And that's where that like getting back in your body and your
Yeah.
nervous system is so important.
That kind of ties into where I want to go next is like slowing down, like mindfulness, what practices, tying in the yoga, how that helps women rebuild trust within their bodies, along with is if it's breath work or whatever, like what comes to mind?
So I would say some just off the top, again,
Yeah.
from all the buckets,
Yeah.
I think that one thing, I'm really sorry about my dogs. This is
It's
like real
okay.
life TV
You're
or
good.
pod.
Yeah. I can't hear it that much, so you're good.
Okay. I have one that's half husky and he likes to like do husky
He just wants to
sounds
be on
and
the podcast. You're good.
he does. He's very, yeah, they all do. They're it's like a personality crew here. Okay. I would say, some one thing we talk about a lot in substance abuse recovery, and I think like, when you're doing any behavioral shift, like I think that engaging with yourself every day is huge, right? Like engaging with yourself in some way every day. So consistency is huge. Self-talk and honesty, even if at the beginning of the day you set, I love intention practice, and they're from the yoga bucket, and setting an intention as if it were already happening, this idea of sankalpa. So the way you phrase things matters instead of I'm going to, it because
Mm,
I am, right? Like that,
yes.
like say it as if it's already happening. I feel strong today. I am doing my best. And a lot of times that is that's it, but that's
Yeah,
okay.
that's
Like
it.
we're doing
Yeah.
our best. Sometimes our best is a 10 out of 10. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's not, but we're doing our best. Um, I am building compassion, whatever, but say like think self-talk and intention setting is awesome. Um, I think that anytime that you can pause, even little exercises like pausing in the moment, and you don't have to be, and this is stuff that is recommended like for anxiety too and like panic, like pause in the moment and to see what's going on with your five senses, right? Like get back in your body, check in. What do you see? Not with judgment, but like what do you see? What do you hear? What do you taste, feel, so on? And it trains you to see like what is and feel what is and experience what is versus like through a cloud of your own judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, just little things like that. Nature is always huge. Going outside and taking a walk. There's such a regulation that happens outside. I don't even remember the question anymore because of my dogs, but
No, it's okay.
did I
But yeah,
answer
like yes,
it?
like techniques for building self-esteem,
Oh, so
yoga,
yeah.
how yoga ties into that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, getting back in your body. Being honest with yourself, getting back in your body, and again, seeking connection. One reason I think yoga is super helpful, and you can look, there's yoga therapists out there. I'm not one, but there is yoga therapists out there too, and somatic work's super important, but like we can only talk ourselves so far sometimes. So it's like getting into your body. Yoga's great because we connect our body to our mind, to our breath.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it comes back to that connection piece. How much of yourself can you bring into the present moment and experience it as it is versus through the lens of how you think it should be, or, your own beliefs that are not helping or serving you.
Totally.
Mhm.
And I thought it was really great too, like your point of reaching out for help, like
Mhm.
because this stuff is hard. Like, and
Super
I think
hard.
it's again, you're seeing your perspective, but like for someone to be there and kind of guide you and show you like there is maybe
Mhm.
deeper feelings underneath all of that to help you
Mhm.
better heal, I think is super important. Yeah.
Yes. There are, uh, there are places and people who can help. Again, I've been talking a lot about therapy, but you know, group therapies, support groups, things like that. I mean, anorexia lives in big, larger bodies too. Like, things like there are other people out there who no one's experienced your experiences, but there are other people out there that you can talk to whose perspectives may be helpful. And like, group therapy
Mm-hmm.
is powerful stuff. Their support groups are powerful stuff. And this idea of reaching out for help, like now is always the best time. It's easier to help when you're at a 1 or a 2 out of 10, right? Than waiting till it gets to a point of needing way
Yeah,
more when you're at a 10 out of 10. So if you're starting to,
totally.
the stuff's starting to come up, yeah, absolutely. Reaching out for help in a responsible way. And there's, you are your best advocate. You're the
Yes.
one living in your body. Like you
Mm-hmm.
you yes, help.
Deserve that too. Yeah, you deserve
Absolutely.
the help you need. And like, yeah, I'm glad you brought up group therapy. There's so many resources, like so
Mhm.
much. Um, so I love that. And then also, what is a small step you would say to someone that is wanting to start healing? What is one small step you would tell them to take? If they're like in this cycle, right, of like guilt,
Mhm.
shame around the exercise food.
I would say that, I mean, everybody's different. Everyone comes in from different entry points. I think acknowledging where you're at, acknowledging your feelings is valid. Again, Dr. Biasetti, in all fairness, this is hard. It is hard. Um, and not just thinking about connecting to others, but like taking steps to connect to others, whether it's a professional that can help you, whether it is whatever it is, taking steps to
Mhm.
connect to yourself, to others, so you're addressing everything. Um, there's a there's a mantra or a prayer. It's called the Ho'oponopono prayer, and it's a Hawaiian practice. Um, so again, so I am borrowing from that, and I found it to be very powerful. And I don't know, it depends on where you're at if you're ready for such a thing. But when we're working with healing, when we're working with self-love, I found this to be hard and helpful, but um the prayer is simple. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you, to yourself. This healing over and over again, recognizing there's a problem. Forgiveness goes in line with all this work, compassion, that they're all in the same pool, gratitude, love. And again, that may not be accessible to someone right away, but I think that I found in my own life, that's from my own personal bucket. That's one that has been really helpful for me when I'm trying to rebuild that relationship with self
I like
too.
that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that's a good one. What
Yeah.
about what about I guess that you kind of already answered this, but is there another like core message about self-worth that
Whitney
resonates?
Houston had it right. Learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. True.
So true. So
True.
true.
And it's
Uh,
and in all fairness, to quote again, it's
yeah.
hard. It's
It's
hard, and that's okay. And we
but
live in
when
a world with, again, everyone, who, I don't know who you're, different cultural backgrounds, gender backgrounds, different um ideas of love and belonging, and coming into we're all coming in from different intersectionalities,
hmm
and that's freaking awesome. And with that, like, massive infinite number of entry points. We have infinite number of experiences, and they're all valid, and they all deserve recognition, and they all deserve love. And I love, Whitney had it right. And it's not just the end product of loving yourself, it's the learning how, and the
Yeah.
learning that happens. And that learning that happens at your edges when you're growing, man, like that's, I think she had it right. And
hmm And then
that
when
would
you
be
love,
my
and then also when you, sorry, when you love
no.
yourself too, like you're also, when you have such a deeper healing and you start loving yourself more,
Mhm.
you're able to give more to others. Like you're able to show up
Mhm.
better as well. And from
Absolutely.
personal experience and with clients, like you're able to give more to, whether it's with your relationships or work. So it's all connected for sure.
Mhm.
I want to ask you my signature question.
Oh boy.
So, our last thing here, my goal is to really help people overcome their fears, lean into their growth in all aspects of their life. So, what is an example in your life that allowed you to experience great growth, but it took a lot of, working on your self-worth, letting go of the fears? What was that for you?
Yeah. Oy. I would say, and I thought about this a lot. I think I'm not I'm not a natural extrovert, although I am in a lot of places where I'm, with teaching and stuff like that. So this is a tough one. I would say two things stood out to me. I think we growth over fear every time we choose to level up, whatever it is. Every time we choose to level up,
Yep,
that can happen. That's a thing. Um, I would say going to grad school in my 40s was a big one. Uh, this new venture of going into private practice or joining like, that's a big
totally.
one for me too. That's a big one for sure. I would also say, like, 5 years ago, I made the choice to give up alcohol. That's a big one. Um, that was a big one. It was a crutch for me, with like social apprehensions and anxieties, and just um it just never went well, and it caused a lot of anxiety and a lot of um Yeah, I was just sick of my own bullshit, to be honest. I think, can I
Mm-hmm.
say that word on your
Yeah,
podcast? But so I made that change, and that was a big one for me, for
that's
sure.
huge. And
Yeah.
I was like even thinking like that could be another episode because that one's really, deep as
Yeah.
we talked about a little bit how it's been like a little over 3 months for me.
Hmm.
And yeah, like it's so that could be a really good podcast too because that's hard in itself and for you to
Hmm.
again, get out of your fears, get out of that pattern that you were in. Like that takes
Hmm.
huge growth to like it's so uncomfortable to like change your life and change habits that you're used to. Um,
Yeah.
so really, really impressive and amazing. Just all the things you've done with yeah, starting your private
Um,
practice now, going to grad school, like so cool.
yeah.
So
It's
amazing.
one one day at a time, one
Yeah,
moment at a time.
yes.
I
And
think
then no, sorry,
yeah.
go ahead.
No, it's just no, you're good.
And then where can listeners connect with you?
Yeah.
So, social media, where you teach yoga, we would love to know.
Yeah. So right now, if anything I said resonated and you feel like you're in that place, not of crisis, but of curiosity and would like to explore therapy, um, my website is www.doshasmindful.com. That's DOCHAS mindful, MINDFUL.com. My work cell phone is also 720-641-2307. Dochas is the Irish word for hope, which is why I went with that. I believe that is a very powerful thing. For yoga teaching right now, I am at One Yoga Denver in the Lions Den in the Tech Center area.
Woo.
I do classes online for them at that studio and that community, which is an awesome, beautiful, lovely
Yes.
community. 5 p.m. on Fridays. I teach gentle yoga and yoga nidra online. Noon on Sundays, I teach an all levels hatha class online. And then finally, I teach in person on Thursday evenings at Santosha Studios in Parker. I teach a heated power yoga at 5:30 and a 7 p.m. yin class. So that's me. That's where I
Amazing.
am.
I love it. I'm going
Yes.
to put that all in the show notes so people can find you. They can, attend your classes. And
Yeah,
I
thank
still have
you.
yet to do that, but I can't wait to check out your
We'll get you in
space.
there.
Yeah, and get me in. And yeah, and also your dosha, your private practice. Again, if
Yes.
anything resonated with you all, like Jen is amazing, like so
Oh,
knowledgeable.
you're kind.
And also you've done the work, right? Like it's also a lot to be said about when a therapist does the work and um
Trying.
like that's so important
Every
too.
day we
And we're all
try.
trying, right?
Yep.
But definitely reach out if anything resonated today, if you need that help, don't hesitate. And
Yeah.
even if like you're nervous or anxious, it can be hard to ask for help. Like shoot me a
Mhm.
message. I'd love to get you two connected. And both of us are here for you to help
Yep.
guide you on this process too. So
And if
thank
you're in
you.
a place
Go
where
ahead.
crisis feels more like, if you're like listening to this, like, I need immediate help now, then like, yes, Colorado Crisis Services, 988, those are, immediate need services.
Mm,
But also, again, the Alliance for Eating Disorder, their awareness helpline is 1-866-662-1235. They're more specialized. They can give you some specialized information. And again, a quick Google, you'll get lots of information, but local to Denver, I did find eatingdisorderfoundation.org amongst other places. Again, I'm not affiliated with them. It was just a quick Google to say,
hmm.
where can I send people or where, because this is the thing we talked about
Yes.
today, some more specific and highly qualified individuals. So yeah, there's all sorts of
Amazing.
stuff out there.
Yeah, so much. So helpful. Jen, so informative, so valuable.
Thanks.
Like I have so many takeaways. I'm like, oh gosh, I need maybe need you too. So this is a really, really, really good conversation.
Oh, thanks
And
for having me.
of
Whew.
course, so fun. Thank you so much.
No, thank you so much, Sarah. And thanks for all the good work you do helping people out there like me and all of us. Like we really appreciate you. And you're also someone who does the work. And I think that that's just so valuable and validating for everybody that's trying to do it too. So thank you.
Of course. I appreciate you. All right.